Welcome back. We're going straight now to Vijay Pradeep and we will talk with him. Hello? Hi, good morning.
Hi, Dr. Tiwari. Good morning. Can you hear me?
How are you going? Welcome. Be comfortable. We're going to have a nice conversation and I'll give you a chance to tell the people of Trinidad and Tobago and in the region who are looking as well what you are doing, because it's so important what you are doing. So I wonder if you can begin by telling me what your company, VIRTANA, is.
Yes, first of all, thank you so much for having me this morning, Dr. Tiwari. I'm excited to tell you more about what I'm doing. I guess I should mention, I'm currently CEO of a company. I'm CEO of a company called VIRTANA, and we're actually we work with a lot of UE students and hire a lot of UE graduates, but we're actually not affiliated with UE, and I'm not affiliated with UE either. What we're doing is we're actually hiring local talent, working with local engineers, and we're providing high-tech robotics software, algorithmic development services, consulting services to international robotics companies. So these would be companies that are trying to build the next generation of robots. All of our clients thus far are based out of the San Francisco Bay Area, Silicon Valley, building new types of drones, new types of factory robots, new types of construction robots, and we help develop many of the algorithms that go into these types of robots.
Things that have to happen. You have to have capacity in a company which requires a significant amount. And you have to make connections with technology-driven companies all over the world in order to supply a product that is as sophisticated as that. Tell me what you are doing and how you went about doing it.
Yeah, sure. So me personally, I am relatively new to Trinidad and Tobago. I moved here only a couple years ago, but prior to that, my career has been in robotics, or I've been working in robotics and technology in the San Francisco area for 14 years. So throughout that time, I was able to make connections, get familiar with what's going on in the domain, and work with people that have experience in this area. So after coming to Trinidad, I was able to leverage some of those connections to start getting our initial set of projects and kind of get that up and running. But I think the much more important piece is in these types of niche businesses, word of mouth is extremely, extremely important. So we actually we had an initial project, and those clients were very happy with what we're doing. And then the robotics industry is a fairly close-knit industry. So they ended up telling other people about VIRTANA, and that has continued to help us grow and get more business that way. So I think the most important thing there is just making sure that we're doing high-quality work and keeping our customers happy.
All right, let us explore that a little bit for the audience who are watching. So that here you are, you lived abroad before, you migrated to Trinidad and Tobago, and you brought with you the connections and connectivities that you had abroad, the relationships that you had abroad because you worked in the robotics industry. And because of that, you brought with you a potential market. Is that correct? Did I summarize you correct?
Yeah, I think that's a totally fair summary of what happened there. But I think it's important to remember that I ended up bringing that market here, but at the same time, I also, or by bringing that market here, all of my employees and everyone that is working at VIRTANA, they are now building those international connections. They now have connections to global companies, engineers and technical teams across the world that they can then use to grow their networks as well. So this isn't a static network and a static connection. It continues
That's
to
right.
grow as the entire organization and the team grows.
Okay, this is a very important thing. You see, it's a conversation that is very deeply rooted in economic theory. And in fact, one of the Nobel Prize winners about 3 years ago, this was at the heart of his arguments, rumor about how ideas work and how intangible connections work in the creative and business and developmental process, and therefore in the process of economic growth. So I want to explore this. So now you talked about your employees. How many employees do you have who are multiplying these international connections now in their own right because they have capacities? Secondly, are they all from Trinidad and Tobago? And what kind of qualifications do these people have?
Sure. So we're approximately 20 people right now. We're based out of Trinidad and Tobago, and all of our employees are either they're all Trinidadian nationals who either studied locally at the University of the West Indies or other local universities, or maybe studied locally and then went abroad for maybe a graduate degree and then decided to come back to Trinidad. And then recently in our internship program, we had 6 interns over the summer, and many of them were studying locally, but we actually had one intern as well who was studying at MIT, but decided that he was excited about what we're doing at VIRTANA in robotics and also what we're doing in Trinidad. And he decided he was studying abroad at MIT, but still did his internship at VIRTANA. Yes, and these are most of the folks that are working at VIRTANA are they have a highly technical background in either electrical engineering or computer science. We also have a team at VIRTANA that we call our robot operations team, where this is actually a team that still generally has a technical degree, but not necessarily as specialized. And what they do is they also they actually sit in Trinidad with a high bandwidth internet connection and control robots that are operating somewhere else in the world. So there might be a factory robot sitting in San Francisco, and whenever those robots have problems, they either control it and tell the robot what to do, or actually pop on a virtual reality headset and use virtual reality to actually control these robots that are sitting somewhere totally different. And that doesn't necessarily require as much coding and technical skills. So the skill set requirement is a little bit different.
Yeah, that is wonderful. You see, because I mean, thinking as you talk, you see, you are basically a case study of how skills and competence and specialized education can create a company and help to build an industry. And you market VIRTANA as a Trinidad and Tobago company, and they all know that, these big companies, and they have no problem with where you are from because your competence level is world class.
That is 100% true, especially when it comes to specialized fields like this. The entire group of people globally that have these types of skills are relatively small. So geography just doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
What customers care, it doesn't matter at all. What they really care about is, do you have the skills to actually execute on these niche problems effectively and help solve the problem? And if that's the case, then that opens the doors.
Okay. Now, does your company, in your estimation, have the ability to grow, both in terms of markets, because they are dependent on one another, both in terms of market and in terms of the amount of people you are able to employ? What are the prospects for that as a company?
There's different ways I can answer that question. So we'll start with one piece of it. So I think we are lucky that we are in a very growing field. Robotics is continuing to grow. It's on the news all the time. It's very much in an uptrend right now.
Yeah, robotics and AI are where the world is going. And if we don't get on board, we are going to be left behind again, another tier. But let's
sure, yeah, and I would say that we're lucky that we are actually generally turning down business. There's actually more incoming business for VIRTANA than we can actually do. So we want to make sure that we're not spreading ourselves too thin. We want to make sure that we're delivering high quality work. That is the primary thing. So we actually tell a lot of our customers, no, sorry, we can't do these new projects. We can't take on this new work. We need to focus on what we're doing right now. And where that limit comes from is from the size of our team. And we're continuing to hire. As I mentioned, we're about 20 people right now. But where things start to saturate a little bit is that in the local ecosystem, there's not really an avenue for us to hire a senior robotic software algorithmic engineer. Like it doesn't necessarily exist locally. So our entire hiring pipeline is very much focused on early career software engineers or early career roboticists. And with the size of our team right now, we have many engineers, and we also have some team leads, technical leads, or you can call them engineering managers. And for us to continue growing our organization, we're really investing deeply into training these team leads and technical leads to continue to grow in their roles, be able to take on bigger teams, and mentor more people. So the more that our team sort of soaks in these problems, gains more experience, that lets our internal team grow, which lets us hire more people. So we are still continuing to hire, but it's a slow process. And
yes.
The other half of that is we're really looking for new graduates or people in industry. It's just harder for us to find it, but we're looking for people that are extremely that have a deep technical background in software engineering, algorithmic design, the types of problems that we work on in robotics. But even if they don't have that, just having core software engineering and computer science skills. And then really, we're looking for people that have what I would call a growth mindset, people that are extremely curious, people that are willing to step up and learn new things. Because when I talk about software engineering and computer science, this is really just the foundation of what is needed to work in a niche field like robotics. And we then are willing to invest the time and energy and mentorship needed for these people to continue to grow in this field and do more and more high impact work.
Okay, what you're saying there is also very important. First of all, the way you do this is by project teams. Project teams come with competencies which they got from an educational institution or through experience elsewhere before they came to your company. But they also learn together on the job, and they strengthen the team as they learn more and get to deal with more challenging issues. And there is mentorship built into that. And when you hire people, a person doesn't come to the company as an individual. They come into a team and work with that team so that there is a transference of culture, quality standards, expectations, and so on. These are very important things for being part of a global strategy for a world-class company.
100%. And I would add a little bit to that, which is sometimes people will interview for a job and they'll ask like, okay, so what are my responsibilities, X, Y, Z? And I can give some broad explanations, but a lot of times it's hard because it depends on the project, it depends on the team, it depends on how everything is going to shape together. And we're really just looking for people who are hungry to jump into that uncertainty and learn and grow with everyone else around them in that team. And that can be uncomfortable, but it also can be, but we're also looking for the people that have the personality that find that very exciting. And we're finding those people, which is great.
Well, and you found 20 people, all Trinidadians, Tobagonians, people from Trinidad and Tobago, who are helping you to build and grow this company. And you have the capacity to grow more because you are turning business away, because you have to grow slowly so that you do not water down the quality and therefore the reputation of the company. Is that correct?
100%.
Okay, let's talk about it. Can we build a robotics industry in Trinidad and Tobago?
Sure. So the short answer is 100%. I totally believe that.
Yes, we can.
If I did, yes, we can.
Right.
If we can't do it, or I would argue that is one of the main driving factors for why I started this company.
Yes.
But there are a bunch of caveats that I should talk about as well. The first thing is no one company alone or one person alone can actually build an ecosystem themselves. Sort of by definition, an ecosystem is not one company.
Yes.
I would also say that with VIRTANA, as I mentioned, like we're turning away business. So we are not in a place where we're trying to like stop other companies from joining the industry. Like we would be excited if there were more companies doing the exact same thing that we are doing. That would just we would have more companies to share stories with. We would be able to talk about problems a little bit more. It would just, and I think the other thing that's really important is that the more companies that exist, the more people that are doing what we are doing, it actually gives students and new graduates more confidence about entering this industry. So for instance, a lot of people that are excited about engineering or working on technical problems, they often may gravitate, or historically speaking in Trinidad, they may have gravitated to oil and gas because they know that if they study something in that industry and do a really good job, like that could lead to a very prosperous career or a really prosperous technical career. And the more that we grow this ecosystem here in Trinidad, the more students and graduates will be excited about joining this industry because they know that there are opportunities on the other side of the door. Maybe turning the conversation a little bit here, what I would also say is that at VIRTANA right now, I would view maybe a 2x2 grid of types of businesses that could exist in this ecosystem. Like there are technology businesses and tech-enabled businesses. So technology businesses would be businesses where the innovation is in the technology itself, and then tech-enabled businesses would be businesses that have an innovative idea that use technology to solve that problem. And there's products and services where there are humans that are actually providing something with time and energy and sweat. And then there's a product where you're selling something that you've already built. And at VIRTANA, we are I would consider us mostly to be a service business that is focused on technology. But there's still 3 other grid spaces there that could be filled with other businesses. So when you talk about maybe a local industry here, I think it's our customers with our current model at VIRTANA tends to be robotics companies. So we are very well suited to provide our services to a robotics company. So we might sell our services or provide services to a company that's building a new type of robot that might be integrated into a factory or a warehouse. But we are not necessarily building an end-to-end solution that would go in a warehouse. So there's not many, or if any, robotics companies. There aren't any robotics product companies in Trinidad right now, which makes it a little bit harder to incorporate those products. But I think there's room for existing companies to invest in those areas, or for other people excited about robotics to actually provide those more product-focused, maybe tech-enabled robotics services. Talking a little bit about maybe my team of 20 people right now, it would be amazing if all of my employees and team decided to stay at VIRTANA for the next 10, 20, or 30 years. That would be amazing. I would love that. But at the same time, if some of them ended up leaving VIRTANA and ended up taking all their experience, all of their connections, all of their know-how about running a business, building a tech company, if they took all of that to build one of these other robotics companies in Trinidad, that would be amazing. I would be super excited about seeing someone leave and actually building their own business and hiring their own engineers. I think that type of momentum is what is really going to be needed to help to grow this horizontally and build more of an ecosystem.
Okay, so that first of all, nobody is a robotics builder in Trinidad and Tobago, and we can build a cluster of companies related to the designs that you are doing and the robotics industry generally, taking knowledge from what is happening abroad. And if we got the investor, we could do that. And more than that, we can turn this cluster into an ecosystem that is connected to the rest of the world, and where the potential for growth in a growth industry like robotics is absolutely phenomenal. We'll talk about that. I have to take a break now when we come back, but I want you to think about that a little bit and let's talk about it, okay? Thank you very much.
Welcome to Lifetime Solutions, where you can trust your roof to us. Our services include custom fabrication, steel framing, roofing installation, on-site roll forming, roofing maintenance and services. Call 223-ROOF or 223-7663 for a quote today, or visit our website www.lifetimesolutionst.com. Lifetime Solutions. You can trust your roof to us. Call 223-ROOF or 223-7663 for a quote today, or visit our website www.lifetimesolutionstt.com.
Your house is more than just a home. It's the new normal. It's your place of work, your kids' school, and even your gym. It's where you and your family spend most of your time. With over 43 years in the building service industry, let Magic Mist Services Limited take care of your home cleaning and maintenance needs. From ceiling to floor, interior and exterior, allowing you to focus on what matters most to you. Give us a call. Magic Mist Services Limited, your total facilities management solutions provider.
Welcome back to Brighter Morning with Bo. My name is Bo Tiwari, host of the Brighter Morning with Bo show, and you are on MCTV, Multicultural TV. And our guest this morning is a fascinating young man, Mr. Vijay Pradeep, and we'll continue the conversation. Do I need to ask you something again, or you can respond on the basis of our last break?
Yeah, definitely. What you have me thinking about is just, what else is really, or maybe it's not necessarily answering a question, but I'll take it part of this direction mostly. So, when we look at the past year or two, and really just what's been going on with the pandemic, there's been a whole lot of pain and suffering globally, which has been really traumatic for a lot of people and families, and with all of that going on, or maybe despite that, I think one thing that has fundamentally changed is this concept of working from home. There are a lot of people that are now working from home who, when their jobs allow for it, or jobs that are more information focused or technology focused. And what that has meant is that for a technology service business like VIRTANA, where we're actually based in Trinidad and Tobago, it used to be that we are based in Trinidad and Tobago, but then our customers are all sitting in an office, maybe in Silicon Valley, and they're all working together, and then we're on the outside. But now, with everything happening, with everyone working remotely, everyone working from home, we as a services company are actually on a level playing field for all the engineers that might actually be operating in one of our client teams. So that actually allows us to integrate much more tightly with our customers, provide services at a higher impact, and actually just be more integrated and more efficient when we're actually working with our customers. And with these types of digital businesses, the sort of concerns or fears of like being remote or being far away, those start dissolving very, very quickly, which yes, there has been a lot of trauma in the world, but for businesses like ours, it actually has helped remove some friction.
Yeah, it has enhanced your business, really, because it has taken geography out of the picture and created the virtual world as real, because you are operating in real time and geographical distance is of no account whatsoever, or geographical location for that matter, because the virtual world is shared. Look, this is such an interesting conversation about building this at a time when robotics is really flying as an industry. And more than that, it's a knowledge company that you are building with tremendous potential for expansion, not just of your company, but your industry, in a potentially expanding market, in a situation in which we have no robotics industry in the Caribbean, and we can become one, which means that you start off not just with a market, you start off with the potential for exports as well in whatever that you do. Now tell me something. There's a lot of talk. A Ministry of Digital Transformation has been established. And it is obvious that you can't just get a few things right, although that is helpful. But that where we need to go as an economy is to build a platform in which basically a lot of businesses could be operating in the virtual world with impunity, as you are, and making significant impact that they cannot possibly make now with the low level of technological application. So I want to ask two questions. One is, how come you have been able to do this in our present condition, and the conditions here have not affected you at all, and you've been able to operate as you would operate in the most sophisticated societies? And what do we need to do from the point of view of the Ministry of Digital Transformation to get this economy to the point in terms of ICT-based technologies to put us in the competitive sphere?
Sure. So I think there's two halves of that. What we are doing, and I think other technology businesses are doing, is they are providing a technology service, and we're providing that technology service globally. But the other half, I wouldn't really call that digital transformation. That's just more providing digital services, in my opinion. I think the challenging part that you're alluding to is when you have a traditional business that is then trying to become more digital to either allow remote work or maybe allow more efficiencies in how they operate their business and that sort of thing. And that's a big jump to make. Many of these businesses, if they've been operating, I don't know, for a decade or maybe 2 decades.
Longer, yeah.
They've existed longer than these technologies have existed, which can make that transition hard. And I think one thing that's important, I think one philosophical piece that's really important with making this type of transformation is that it's hard to know what the right answer is, and one size doesn't fit all. And what that also means is that there's going to be a lot of mistakes and missteps along the way, which is totally fine, and that's normal. Even in our business, trying to grow the business, we've made tons of mistakes. But the important thing is that every time we do something, we realize it's wrong. We learn from it. We iterate, we learn from it, and then do something slightly different. And I think for a lot of businesses here, the important thing will be maybe try to take baby steps towards digital transformation. Like the answer, I'm skeptical that the answer is to take a business and do some entire overhaul to everything that they're doing and say, okay, here's now your digital solution. I think it'll be hard I have a feeling it'll be more of an evolution. And maybe I'll give one example of it where we're trying to participate in that transformation, which is so I said that traditionally we've been providing technology services, and we've started to try to explore providing one tech-enabled product, for instance. So we've been working with local traditional pharmacies, and we're trying to develop a IoT, so an internet-enabled device that is going to help pharmacies keep track of how many pills they have in their inventory, who is taking what pills when, and when they're trying to prescribe prescriptions, making sure that every pill bottle has the right number of pills. So there's different ways of tackling this problem. You could tackle it as an overhauling the entire management system for a pharmacy, for instance, or you can give a small pharmacy that is maybe using traditional methods for tracking all these things and just tell them, here's a tiny device, here's a tiny thing, just try it out. It's a piece of digital technology and see if it helps you with what you're doing. And if that works well, then you add another piece of technology, and then you add another piece, and you add another piece, until before you know it, you actually have something that maybe it's an amalgamation of different technologies, but it's pushed you in the right direction towards digital transformation.
So the key thing in this digital transformation of an economy like Trinidad and Tobago is to, first of all, recognize where you are and where the individual entities in the system are, whether government, business, society, whatever. And you then try for project-based solutions to problems that may have been, problems that have become overwhelming. So you solve those. And over time, with this evolution, you can really have the evolution of an economy in which digitalization is like a foundation for the operation of government, business, and society. Am I getting you right? I'm trying to simply draw from what you are saying and based on your experience.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And maybe another way that I would summarize it is just saying there needs to be a hunger for making a business more efficient or trying new things. And oftentimes the solutions for becoming more efficient and trying new things often end up in the realm of digital transformation. And that'll help us move in that direction too.
All right. Mr. Pradeep, I want to ask you a little bit about yourself. I had hoped to start with this question, but when I thought about it, I mean, the best way to start was really to ask you about the company. And now I think people will kind of see who you are and how this happened. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I was born and raised in the United States and spent about 14 years, most of my professional career actually in San Francisco, Silicon Valley, that area, and worked at a variety of robotics companies, small robotics think tanks, a flying car company in the middle of that as well, and also started my own company along the way there. That company ended up getting acquired by Google, where I was an engineering lead there for several years, working on augmented reality and virtual reality solutions.
So Google bought you out. Google bought you out.
Correct.
Okay, go ahead.
Correct. So ended up working in a variety of different technological spaces in Silicon Valley, and that ended up. I started realizing that so much of what we were doing is very centered on Silicon Valley. It's very, very focused on that part of the world. And I knew I wanted to do something a little bit more global, something that would have an impact, somewhere else in the world potentially. And along the way, I ended up meeting my now wife, who is Trinidadian.
Yes.
And through her, ended up getting more connected to Trinidad, learning more about the country, and ended up just really seeing that in Trinidad and Tobago, I started reading a little bit more about the financial situation, looking at the foreign exchange situation that's in Trinidad and Tobago, imports and exports, those types of things. And also the most important piece of all of this was seeing every year coming out of the University of the West Indies specifically, a lot of extremely driven, growth-minded, excited graduates who who are excited to have a big impact and do very exciting things. And there are lots of opportunities for employment for them in Trinidad and Tobago, but nothing necessarily as special, in my opinion, nothing that was as specialized as, for instance, robotics, at least for people that were excited about computer science or software engineering. So I thought that by actually building this company in Trinidad and Tobago, it'll help. It would help provide foreign exchange,
Yes.
which is absolutely critical. And it also is building these bridges between these local graduates
and
the international, international technological ecosystem, which I felt was extremely important.
Well, on behalf of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, I want to thank you for that investment and intervention and the creation and connection with the kind of intellectual capital that you have. So it is absolutely possible to build an industry in Trinidad and Tobago on robotics and the software engineering and design that go with it. It is absolutely possible to build a cluster of companies. It is absolutely possible to build a robotics manufacturing plant in Trinidad and Tobago, and it is absolutely possible to build an ecosystem that is connected to the other ecosystems in the world, and make a difference. All of these things, giving great jobs, tapping intellectual capital coming out of the university system in Trinidad and Tobago, and winning foreign exchange for Trinidad and Tobago.
100%. And thank you so much for having me today.
And thank you so much, Vijay Pradeep, for this wonderful discussion. You really are an inspiration, and I am sure that people will contact you after this show.
Yeah, sounds great. I look forward to hearing from everyone.
All right, then. You were looking at Brighter Morning and our guest, Mr. Vijay Pradeep, who started a company called VIRTANA that is providing robotic services to the world in a growth industry globally, earning foreign exchange and employing bright, gifted, educated Trinidadians who come through the ranks of engineering and information technology. It is an inspirational story. Thank you for watching. This is Brighter Morning with Bo, and I am signing off now for the news. This is Bo Tiwari.